Well, I'm going to go ahead and kick off. Our host is not here yet, but he's supposed to be here sometime, so we'll just introduce him when he gets here. So how's that? So I just want to welcome you all and thank you all for coming. I thank my panel for coming. I'm looking forward to hearing from each and every one of you. So basically what we want to do tonight is we just want to touch on a lot of different areas of services that are provided. And so we have a lot of different experts in different areas here. I'm Jim Morgan. I'm with Caring Transitions. I will also be playing a secondary role today. I'll be Renee Anderson from Caring Transitions as well. You know, those who know I'm not as cute, but we'll just have to deal with that, okay? But so she's involved in something tonight, so so I am her, okay? But I will go ahead and just have you guys kind of start off and explain who you are and what you do, and we'll just kind of do like our elevator speech across and get things started, and we'll go from there. So. Yes.
My name is Robert Haley. I'm with American Advisor Group, also known as AAG. We specialize in reverse mortgages. We are the largest reverse lender out there. But also as a mortgage planning professional, my title is I do reverse mortgage, conventional loans, FHA, VA, as well as commercial purchase loans. So my whole goal is to help you to do a holistic approach to help you understand how mortgages work and how it can definitely benefit you short-term and long-term, and using some of the home equity portfolios you may have.
I am Denise Wilson. I'm a realtor with RE/MAX Ability Plus, and I've been in the real estate industry for over 26 years. And I was asked to be on this panel because I have a designation that a lot of realtors don't have, and it's called the Seniors Real Estate Specialist designation. What that means is I've taken extra classes and training to learn how to better serve our maturing homeowners and home sellers and help advise them on what could be options if they don't necessarily want to sell. And also that I have a network of people I can refer them to for additional advice and services. So I'm happy to be here.
My name is Shannon Kelsey. I'm a registered nurse, and I'm the owner of Aging Life Care Consultants, LLC. And we are a small boutique geriatric care management practice comprised of nurses and a social worker. And we help work with older adults, disabled adults and their families, and helping them identify resources to improve their quality of life. If you're not familiar with what a geriatric care manager is, it's typically a licensed registered nurse or master's prepared social worker that specializes in geriatrics and kind of serves as, I like to call it, your professional relative, if you will. And we help our clients in a variety of ways. We always start with meeting the client in a home setting and doing a comprehensive assessment so we can kind of get to know the client, not just what's going on with them medically, but their life that brought them to today. And from there, we develop a plan of care, determine level of care, and the types of things we do from there are often placement recommendations for services in the home so that people can stay at home as long as possible. We frequently help people identify medical professionals, physicians. We help clients, we advocate for clients that aren't being treated the way that they should be treated. And we frequently attend medical appointments or care plan meetings, and then we'll report back either via email or on the telephone to the designated representative that's pertinent, such as the healthcare power of attorney or the guardian, whether it be a family member or a professional guardian. I will add that not all, but the majority of our clients have some sort of mild cognitive impairment or dementia, and so we believe that people with dementia can still have a really great quality of life, and so we try to help them by advocating for them to have their best possible life. And in conclusion, I'll just say we're one of the few geriatric care management practices that is not affiliated with any other caregiving company or home health agency. So when we make a recommendation, you can rest assured that we haven't received a referral fee or a kickback, that it's authentic, and we come up with those recommendations based on what our clients tell us, what we hear in the community, what we see in the community. So if you or someone you know is interested in our services, or you're not sure if it's a good fit, or if you just have like a few questions and you need to get pointed in the right direction, I'm happy to give anybody a complimentary phone consultation. So you should just call. You can reach me directly at 317-482-5885. 888-300-5454, or you can email me at shannon@aginglifecareconsultants.com. And thank you for organizing.
Hello everyone, I'm Cheryl with Guardian Angel Hospice. We are a privately owned hospice company based out of Kokomo, but my office is out of Carmel. We have one in Lafayette and Logansport. I got into hospice because my mother got sick and the support was amazing. I'm a school teacher background, so I'm such an advocate. It's a form of palliative care. It's an extra layer of help that everybody has earned through Medicaid or Medicare. Sometimes we'll pull the private insurance a little bit too. Most of the time it's 100% covered, and that includes all of your meds from the hospice diagnosis moving forward, as well as DME, which is like different things like pull-up briefs and Ensure drinks, as well as the equipment like mattresses that have the air that go in and out, wheelchairs, road chairs, things like that. I feel like we're really different than many of the hospice company choices out there because we have extra aid visits per week. Standard, most hospice companies will have an aid visit our patient or their patients about twice a week. We do standard no matter what, 3 times a week. We have flexibility coming out to do showers on the weekends. That's also very different. And we do a wonderful aromatherapy program. We have an aromatherapist that has clocked 250 hours of school. So we are the only hospice company out there that has a certified aromatherapist that is clocked that many hours. And so we do, we care plant oils through our medical director. And we have found, at first I thought it was a little bit different, but we have found that it has made such a huge difference with our patients. There's an oil for constipation, because when they're on the pain meds, they get constipated. And then there's one for the end of life called Journey that we use. And then we also do a therapeutic touch called Angel Touch, which the oils are infused in these lotions. And our nurses and aides are all trained to do that. So those are some things, plus on top of that, every single person on our team in Carmel is in it for the ministry like I am. So that makes it wonderful. And our biggest thing in closing is that not only do we support our patients, but actually our families just as much, because we feel like if we can take the anxiety off of our family's shoulders and we can just love on them and support them and educate them to know it's scary when you have a loved one on hospice. This is what's going to happen this week. Okay, this is where we're at, and then kind of lead them that way. They can just be a mom or a dad or a brother and sister, child, whatever, for their last days. And last thing, I promise, hospice is, it can look like in the movies where somebody's passing in a bed. And also some of our hospice patients are at home or whatever, and they're going out to a movie or a shopping trip daily. So we have patients on and off with our extra set of hands. Sometimes they get better for a while. So it's not what it used to look like, and that is my biggest responsibility, is to educate the community on that. I have some brochures and business cards over there and some highlighters and things. Please help yourself, and if you know of anybody that might need a free conversation with no pressure, just let me know. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura Geske, and I represent First Light Home Care. It is new to the area, but a national company, and we're a non-medical home care company. So we provide personal and companion care, and that can be in the form of transportation, playing a game, or assistance with bathing and hygiene and dressing, and that can be as little as 2 hours up to 24 hours. And my husband and I own it. One of the things we like to say that we learned right from the beginning to separate us was that we're taking our time hiring our caregivers, and we're paying them more than the industry standard. Therefore, we feel that even though it's going to take a little bit of time to develop, that was the one thing we had personally experienced, was not the strongest and best caregiving situation for our loved ones, which was one of the reasons that we were drawn into this, call it our second stage of life. And it was the one job my husband and I could do together without killing one.
There you go.
We had already experienced it with my mom and his father and mother. So the only other thing that I'd like to mention, and I hope we can touch on this evening throughout the panel, is we are the only home care company certified in Ageless Grace, which is a brain exercise done sitting in the chair, so it's physical and brain. And while it's not going to stop dementia or Alzheimer's, it is proven to help slow the progression, which I'm very proud to be a part of. Exactly, and it's really needed, and I'm loving doing it. So I was just certified in that about a month ago.
I apologize ahead of time. I'm probably going to consume quite a bit of time talking about SECOA because SECOA is complex. There's a lot of different parts to SECOA, and I would not be doing any of you justice if I didn't touch on each part of SECOA. So, my name is Melinda Whitty. I'm the Community Programs Coordinator at SECOA. Show of hands, how many of you have heard of SECOA? This is wonderful! I was expecting no hands, and I was going to say, well, that's exactly why I'm here. But since you're familiar with SECOA, so SECOA is Indiana's largest area agency on aging. So another question for you all. Did you all know that every county, not only in the state of Indiana, but every county in the country is covered by an area agency on aging? Did you all know? I had no idea. When my family was caring for my grandmother with Alzheimer's disease, we were just shooting in the dark. We had no idea who to turn to for help. So I have just become so passionate over the last 4 years about getting out into the community and educating people about not only who SECOA is, but other resources and being that connecting piece for families. So again, SECOA has been around since, 1974. We are a nonprofit. And again, area agency on aging. So we serve, let me see, Boone, Hamilton, Hancock, Hendricks, Johnson, Marion, Morgan, and Shelby counties. So we have an 8 county service area that we service. And so with SECOA, we're not a government agency. So a lot of people think that we are affiliated with the government. We're not, but we are contracted, and we do oversee both state and federal funding, in addition to private donations that help us provide information and referral services, advocacy services, and then supportive services for not only older adults, but people with physical disabilities of any age. I think a lot of people would be shocked to know that we have newborns on our caseload. I think that we had a client on the news the other day that just turned 110. So you've got every person throughout the spectrum who SECOA serves. So it's really quite a wide range. And then in addition to that, as most of all of you have touched on, family caregivers, because they are really the driving force behind all of this, and we need to continue to care for them. So a few services that we do provide. So we have our Aging and Disability Resource Center, which houses about 20 phone options counselors who work 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and they are there to provide unbiased long-term care options counseling for people, really showing them what options they have, what alternatives they have to institutionalized care. That's ultimately what SECOA is trying to do, is trying to provide people an alternative to having to move their loved one into a nursing facility. We all recognize that sometimes that is the safest route possible for these individuals, but again, if people can remain in the home, that's where they want to remain. And we have found, on average, people who get involved with SECOA services, they're typically able to remain in a home and community-based service for an average of 3 years longer, as if they didn't receive our services. So that's extremely exciting. And for taxpayers, that's exciting. We want to keep people in the community. It's so much more expensive to provide that institutionalized care to them. So we've got the Aging and Disability Resource Center. We have a caregiver support program that we call CareWare. That is a one-on-one, again, caregiver support program. I did that program for for about a year, and I would meet with caregivers in the home, at coffee shops, McDonald's, Arby's, I mean, you name it. Some caregivers just wanted a weekly phone call just to check in and make sure they're doing okay. So we have that option available, and it's unique in the sense that it's the only program that focuses on every other program at Socoa is focused on that client and what their needs are, but this one program is devoted to the caregiver's needs. In addition to that, we have our Meals and More program, which provides home-delivered meals, very similar to Meals on Wheels. We actually contract with Meals on Wheels in a few counties to provide those meals. We also have a number of congregate meal sites, so a lot of these are found at senior centers or senior apartment buildings where people can drop in if they're 60 years and older and have a nice warm midday meal and socialize with other folks. Transportation services, we have our Way to Go program that's primarily based here in Marion County, but we do have another program that's able to cross county lines. Very limited availability with that program. So again, primarily here in Marion County, and that's going to get you to your medical appointments, to the pharmacy, to the grocery store, any essential need runs that you have. Oh gosh, what else am I missing? Our Safe at Home program, which will provide minor home modifications, so wheelchair ramps, installing grab bars, handrails. They also do an annual Safe at Home day, which they go in and they take a neighborhood in the Marion County area and they just blast it. They go in and trim bushes and just clean up the outside of homes and install those ramps for people. So that's a great volunteer opportunity for anybody who's interested. Speaking of volunteer opportunities, we have a volunteer program, so handyman services, friendly visiting, telephone reassurance, that type of work. I know I feel like I'm missing one. Probably the largest facet of Socoa is our care management program, so very similar to what Shannon, I believe, was talking about. We have about 200 care managers on staff that cover, all 8 counties that we serve, and I think in 2019 we officially hit the 10,000 mark of how many clients we're currently serving through our care management services. So quite a lot that we do, and I might be a little biased in saying that I saved the best for last, but an initiative that Socoa administers is called Dementia Friends Indiana. And so that is the program that I help coordinate, and this is a grassroots social movement to make people more educated and aware of what dementia is and what the signs are and the symptoms, helping getting these families connected with resources, but ultimately we're trying to break down the stigma of dementia. I think anybody who's dealt with it or is dealing with it right now, I think that's the most isolating and challenging part of the condition, is just feeling like you're alone and feeling like you're judged and all of the above. I could stand on that soapbox forever, but the goal of that, again, to break down the stigma and create more conducive, welcoming environments for people living with dementia. So again, sorry to take up so much time, but there's just so much to Socoa, and I appreciate you all taking the time to be here. So again, Melinda Winnie.
Hi, I'm Daryl Frazier, and I just want to give her a plug. I had the honor of sitting through her presentation last month.
Thank you.
And she kept me awake for the whole 90 minutes. She knows what she's talking about.
Thank you.
I think it's
So-
your enthusiasm.
Thank you. I tried. Jazz it up.
So I'm going to change it up a little bit. I like to go against the grain. So I'm going to tell you some facts about where I represent, who I'm employed with. And you guys, it's like, what's my line? Remember that old TV show? So you guys tell me where I work. So, first of all, I'm the Community Outreach Director where I work. And I work in the most historical place here in Indianapolis. It was founded in 1862. And what were we doing in 1862? We were in the middle of the Civil War. So a lot of things were happening around here. There was a northern military base here, and there was a Confederate prison here. So, does anybody know so far? I think it's the most beautiful place in Indianapolis, and it's the highest point in Marion County. Does anybody know?
Yeah, Crown Hill.
That's correct. Good job. So again, I'm the Community Outreach Director with Crown Hill. We help people transition to their final resting place. So I sell real estate too, but it's your eternal resting place. I had to personally go through this, and being the oldest of 3 boys, my father was already deceased. I grew up in Dayton, Ohio, just before they built the wall there at Indiana and Ohio, to let me come across. So, it's very traumatic. I was caught off guard, I was grieving, I wasn't thinking properly, and I had to make all these decisions for my mother's arrangements in the matter of about 2 hours. So I never want anybody to go through that. So we help pre-plan, relieve that burden from your loved ones. And so everything is smooth and a little bit peaceful and taking care of that stress from everyone. So again, I'm Daryl Frazier with Crown Hill. Thank you for having me here.
And the last one? Okay, you're not
No,
on the
you
panel.
go next, then I'll have Mac up here too. So.
Okay, all right. My name is Mike Egan. I am a tax accountant by trade, and my season's already started, so I want to thank my assistant over here for putting me on this panel. I could be back in the office doing tax returns, but and while we're on tax returns, we do a $99 first year special if you're interested. After that, we're not very expensive. We maybe average $125 a tax return. So during tax season, that's all I do. After tax season, I like to work with veterans and find them benefits that they have earned by being veterans. Every veteran has a long-term care paid-up policy from the government that he doesn't know about in most cases, and we just have to get them qualified at that point. And he has to be wartime vet, be in for 90 days during wartime, and then we take it from there. But just like a private policy, he doesn't qualify until there's certain things, both asset-wise, income-wise, and health-wise. So that's what we deal with that during the off-season. That also leads into Medicaid planning in a lot of cases, because they all have their uniqueness to them. And normally what you have is you have someone who qualifies for VA benefits. Eventually, he uses that money, or she uses that money for assisted living. And then when they have to move into skilled care, where it gets a lot more expensive, then you transition to Medicaid, and let the state help out with that. So I work with an elder law attorney for doing Medicaid planning, but they kind of go hand in hand. Because once you get the veterans going, then Medicaid comes in with skilled care and VA benefits fall off, and the state picks up from there. So we do that year round, but during tax season we kind of don't do as much of it. So that's it.
Mac, I'd lift your seat up there, so go ahead and introduce yourself here.
Appreciate everybody coming here tonight. My name is Mac, I'm the administrator. I have been here at Castleton for about 8 months now, and quickly tried to rebuild the team as best as possible during that time. And a lot of it is just going back to basic customer service and making sure that when we say we're going to do something, that we actually do it, and we do it timely. So under my leadership right now, we have 10 new managers, leadership members, and then almost an entirely different direct care staff, including all new CNAs and nurses. And a lot of that just went with our previous reputation in the community and not doing those simple things. And so we've actually, in these 8 months, have grown nearly double in size with our residents, both long and short-term care. And I've had a lot of recent success, and I think the building, the staff members, and the team that's in place currently right now are doing a lot of good things. And I think that the community is able to come into our building with open doors and be able to witness and experience that on a daily basis. And I know there's a number of individuals that I've connected with as I'm newer to the Indianapolis area, but I hope to continue to do that and hopefully be able to work with many of you in the future. So appreciate you guys coming here tonight.
And I'm going to be Renee Anderson real quick, so just pretend that you see a little blonde over here. So Caring Transitions, so we're the ones that brought you all here today. But Caring Transitions, what we do is help people. I say the best thing I'd say is we take the deer in the headlight looks out of their face, okay? Because I have been a consumer in that for years, trying to deal with moving my in-laws, moving my parents, moving my uncle, and all the trauma of moving out of a house you've been in for 50 years and all the stacks of stuff. We sort, we pack, we find the documents. We find that VA form that is going to be real handy to have. You know, we find the jewelry, we find the money that's stuck in the books. Okay, we get the stuff moved to their new place. Get them, and if you have someone that's a memory care issue, we do photographs of everything before at their old place so that it's exactly duplicated at the new place, and that takes the stress level down dramatically. Okay, so we help them get rid of the stuff that they don't want. We help them with estate sales, online auctions, what have you. We're working with a client right now that needs to move from the east side of Indianapolis. He's in an assisted care in Fort Wayne, so his brothers are going to come down to help sort through things. What we're going to have to do is some serious sorting to find if there's any documents and stuff, because he's like a stage 4 hoarder. You know, he has furniture, I have not seen it yet. Okay, so it's somewhere under that pile. Okay, so we're gonna have to go through that though to find documents, to find things for them, and then to get him taken care of. So we can do all those kind of things, and we do. You know, hoarding is not our ones we're looking for, but we do hoarding situations as well, which some people do not. We are a national franchise, so it doesn't, you know, so if somebody's moving from California to be here with the kids, or from here to California to be with the kids, we can actually set everything up here and then hand it off to another Caring Transitions that can make that move on the other side. So, any questions you have for your panels today? Anybody want to start that process? If not, I'm going to pick on Mac for just a second, because you're late, you get called in, right? So, one of the reasons we're here is when I got a chance to meet Mac, I really was impressed with his attitude, what he's trying to do here, some of the different visions they have here. It's very unique from what I'm finding in the skilled market. This is the first time we've done one in a skilled community and rehab community. So tell me what, you basically, what I was really impressed with is the fact that rather than trying to keep the beds filled forever, you're trying to get them home. So,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
I think the biggest thing for me and what keeps me in healthcare and what really motivates me each day is never referring to my building as a building, a center, a facility. To me, it's just a place where you have an ailment, you have a deficit, you need supports, and you come here for that. Our industry does a really good job of labeling individuals as long-term or short-term, but there's no middle ground. And for me, I learned a long time ago from a very good administrator that's mentored me still now that there has to be a middle ground. You have to find ways to get individuals that are failing in the home into your building and then back into the community to be successful. One of the hardest things that we face as a society is every single time somebody mentions the word skilled nursing, there's a dark cloud over it. You hear about all the horror stories in the news, you hear about the bad things, seldomly do you hear about the good things. So everybody's personal opinion of what skilled nursing is varies quite a bit. But for me, it doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be a jail sentence. It doesn't have to be, a place where you go and then that's kind of the end of it. And so for me, it's always about getting you back up on your feet, getting you connected in the community to the resources that you need to be successful. And then ultimately, should you need those services again, we open you back with our open arms. So we just try to do our business a little bit differently than what the other skilled nursing buildings do, whether it's long-term or short-term, and go from there. And I think really the heart of what we do every single day, and for me is simple, and I told you guys, it's built solely around customer service and the impact that we can have on the relationships with the people that we're serving. Very much into servant leadership, always have been, always will be, and much of my staff that I brought on, and then also the individuals that I continually recruit are the same way. Anybody that sat through an interview with me knows that it only lasts about maybe 6 minutes at best. I don't have too many questions, but one thing that I ask every single time is if you're a good person. And if you say yes to that, then my next question is, are you willing and able to do a job? Because I'm not necessarily looking for a CNA or a nurse or a social services director. I'm looking for an individual that's willing at any one point in time to be able to do whatever it is to be successful for the resident that we're working with. So for me, that's kind of a short version of what you're going to find at Castleton. And I always tell family members, you know, to me it's a 7-day-a-week, 24/7, 365-day business for me. And I give out my personal cell phone number to every single resident, every single family member. I can tell you last night, I'm a little running on fumes today. I had a couple family members that called me at 2 and 4 o'clock because our receptionist forgot to flip the phone on to make services. So I got to play receptionist in the middle of the night. But it's the little things like that that we're trying to accomplish and really just build on a good foundation and continue to improve. And hopefully at the end of the day that our name out in the community is something that we're proud to be a part of. And I always tell my team there's the name tag test. Anybody that wears the name tag, what do you do when you go out in the community? Do you go run errands, do you pop your name tag off, or do you go out in the community and still have your name tag on? And we want to be able to pass that test every single time where we're happy to have a Castleton name badge on and able to speak highly to the building that we represent and the care that we give to those that are in need. So I don't know if I answered your question, but.
Shane, I'm gonna pick on you for a second, because I love what you guys do. I'm trying to get my head wrapped around it, and you tell me if I'm crazy, but what I see, I come from the building business, you're the general contractor. You make sure that all the buses run on time for all the different things. Is that close?
That's a really good analogy, yep. So, yeah, just as you wouldn't maybe try to manage an addition to your home by yourself, you would get a contractor. Same if you or a loved one is going through a difficult time or don't have the resources they need. And I'll also say, look, I personally also have referred many clients to caring transitions and been very, very happy with it. There's a lot of elder moving companies out there. What I love about you guys is the estate planning piece, that it can be done to help fund the move, and then just that there's really no case that's too hard for them. I, as a geriatric care manager too, am running into more and more what we would call hoarding cases. And so they've served one of my clients and did a really great job, so, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I was gonna say, go ahead.
Oh, I had a question.
Yes.
Could you explain the reverse mortgage process and the benefits?
Well, yeah, reverse mortgage is really it's a very simple task. Most people think it makes it more complicated, but it's not.
Okay.
It's really basically just that you have a home that you have with equity in it. Based upon your age and the value of your home determines what you would get plus the market itself. But it's simple for someone, I just figure out what are you trying to accomplish with the reverse mortgage. That's the first goal with it. Not just give you some numbers, because you need to know what you're trying to do and understand which program makes better sense for you and put you in the right program and explain it in great detail. Because you can talk about a whole lot of different things, but it not fit your needs and sometimes it become confusing. But it does allow you to stay in your home, age in place, you're still the owner of your home. You're not giving any rights to that. All the rights you have today is the same rights you have tomorrow. If you want to sell your home tomorrow, you can. You want to still leave it to heirs to your family, you can, because there's still equity in the home. There's two things you got to bear in mind. Your home grows in value, it's still in play. But while you still age in home, at the same time, because it allows you some benefits to help you either maintain your home, to extinguish your mortgage if you have one, or to give you some resources for yourself to have you a chance to use funds if you choose to use them. Sometimes you may want to say, hey, maybe you're in this today time, 401k and retirement plans are long gone. And your home you live in is probably the only home you have that's free and clear. You have a chance to tap into to use some of the equity, either to lump sum to yourself or to take a monthly payment, or just let it sit there and use it as you need it.
Okay. Thanks.
Cheryl, I think what we were talking about this, was it yesterday?
Yeah,
My days
yesterday.
sometimes. You know, but anyway, you're in an industry I think is probably the most misunderstood on the planet. Okay.
Yes.
I didn't understand it at all. Okay. My only experience with hospice is I had about 5 minutes with a hospice person when my father passed. She actually got there 5 minutes after he passed. She did the paperwork. Okay. I had no idea what all the things you do, and that people actually graduate off. And all these things. So yeah, so I'll let you kind of explain more detail what it really is, rather than what people think it is.
Right. I would just say it's a layer of everything that makes someone have that quality of life. We don't expedite death, we don't hold back, and we don't push it forward. I think that big gray cloud has always been over the word hospice. I wish we could change that word. It is a form of palliative care. There are quite a few of our patients that graduate off, because after 60 days through Medicare, they look at the patient, our nurse practitioner comes in and assesses the patient, and if they don't qualify, we have to sign them off. Of course, they'll get back on, very quickly. Another important fact too is that they can't be skilled, the patient cannot be skilled, meaning occupational therapy, physical therapy, or speech therapy, and be on the hospice service. Medicare looks at that as double dipping. Usually they have to be off skilled days within 24 hours, and then we can get them on service. There are 4 different disciplines that work with our hospice patients to kind of help their mind, their body, and their soul. One is our case manager, who usually standardly comes out at the beginning twice a week and then once a week after that, unless things get worse, then we pick up the visits. We have aide visits, minimally 3 times a week. The aide does everything from painting our female patients' nails, to doing angel touch on them, bathing to the capacity that they need baths. So it could be a bed bath, it could be a shower, it could be a bath. We trim their nails, fingernails, toenails. Gentlemen will shave, take care of their hair, have great conversations, talk to them about what they did for a living back in the day. When I do my informationals with our families, I do this in honor of my mom. We had some family issues with just what they kind of wanted to control my mother's medical care, and my mom wanted the kids, and so I don't want that to happen to any other family. So I take this very personal, and I tell them, you have the steering wheel. This is your journey. We're just an extra layer of help. And sometimes you might feel like we're part of your family. It ends up that way because we get so close to our patients and families. The next layer is our chaplain. Chaplain Aaron meets everyone where they're at, from no religion to Buddhism to Catholicism to Christianity. And he does not walk in there with a Bible. He can do that, but he can sometimes just shoot the breeze. He really reads our patients well to see where they're at and what they need that day. And then the last one is the social worker. Our social worker takes care of everything from funeral planning to establishing like the living wills, the DNRs that might need to be in place. We had one of our social workers, there was a patient that was overwhelmed in a facility. She had just left her home and she was behind in her bills, and that was a big deal for her. Social worker sat there and wrote checks for her and helped her balance all that. So it's all about, for our team, taking the anxiety out of what the family's feeling and what the patient's feeling, and sometimes what the staff is feeling. We roll up our sleeves in facilities, and we know we're guests in those buildings, so we're just an extra layer of help. And I feel like we do a really good job about communicating and figuring out how that building and staff wants to be communicated with, because every building, I tell you what, is so different. Is that what you're looking for?
That's great. One thing I heard one time, someone said this to me with hospice made sense to me, was doctors are trying to cure something, so they're always treating for a cure. When you are not going to be cured, okay, for whatever reason, then what hospice can do is then treat the symptoms rather than the cause.
Right.
And so make your quality of life improve, so maybe you can go play golf or whatever.
We're not doing the life-saving measures like chemotherapy or radiation, except there are exceptions, like if somebody has throat cancer, quality of life is to be able to swallow, right? So in that, we would pay, and it doesn't happen very often, but we would pay for the chemotherapy for that, because we need to shrink it so they can swallow and get their food down. But that's more of a rare situation.
I will also say, as a geriatric care manager, one of the things that I've noticed about my clients that maybe are just exhausted from all the medical appointments and all the medications, when we finally have the conversation and say, okay, quality is what we're after, not quantity, and they stop all of that, half the time they get better.
Yes.
It's just like a relief, and I think it's also like a polypharmacy, and there's going to all these appointments when really, I mean, there's nothing their cardiologist can do. They're just going to shoot the breeze about how the grandkids are or whatever.
Absolutely.
Listen to their heart, do an EKG, and do the same thing 3 months later.
Absolutely, and we manage the depression and the anxiety and the pain. A lot of our patients want to talk to the chaplain about some struggles they've had. So it's not just the physical, it's really and truly the emotional, the spiritual. We're just focused on the quality of the whole person. and just as much as the family. We follow our patients' families after they pass to support them up to 13 months after. And I actually asked the chaplain one day, I said, so what would you do if somebody needed help 16 months after? And they said, we would support them. And we have some support groups for grief in different area locations too. So those are some of the ways that we can one-on-one as well as the grief groups.
Laura, I was going to bring you in next anyway. So, I mean, again, anybody wants to raise their hand, please. I'm just going to keep it going if we don't. But
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
The support groups, is it only for like your clients, or is that anybody who's going through grief?
Right now, I think we have one in Tipton, and I think it's for our clients.
Okay.
We do outreach kids camps for kids that have had lost, kids and teenagers, elementary and teenagers, and that is an outreach for everyone in the community. It's a weekend camp in Camp Tecumseh, I think twice a year, and it is a wonderful camp. The kids get together, and it's amazing how locked up they are, because I donated my time for one of them at the beginning, and within usually 2 or 3 hours, they're like loving on each other, and they're so happy to know that they're not the only one that lost a parent or an uncle. And then the kids camp is, that's not overnight, it's just more of the, like you say, elementary kids on a Saturday, but again, it can be anybody in the community, so. Yeah, you're welcome.
Laura, I was going to say on you, what I was going to point out was, you're in home care, and do, take care of people, keep them in their home longer, keep them in assisted care, keep them in independent, keep wherever longer by what you can bring to the table. I know that Minnie would tell me this as well, because she's the one that taught me this, that caregivers need care, and that's part of a lot of what you're doing.
Correct.
65%, am I correct?
63%, and that's specifically with caregivers of dementia. So what we find is when spousal caregivers are between the ages of 66 and 96, 63% of the time the caregiver passes away before the person living with dementia. Because they're exhausted, because they put their needs to the back burner, because they stop going to their own doctor's appointments. I truthfully think that my grandfather's still here today because he made sure to keep up on his medical appointments, and he was very open with his doctor about the fact that he was caring for his wife with advanced Alzheimer's disease. And yeah, I mean, caring for the caregiver, you're going to hear about that so much more. So much more. So absolutely, this relieves them from that. Absolutely, yes.
I was gonna piggyback just for 1 second. My grandmother lived till she was 99, and another grandma till she was 98. And the one that was 99, I have a very sarcastic family. I already figured that out, but we said she had 9 lives because of hospice. Because she would end up on it because of, a UTI or something, and they'd think, oh, this is it. And then hospice would come in, and because of the great care they had and also relieving the rest of the family, she would get better. So I think it's awesome. That being said, oftentimes it is a home care company. And like I said, we're non-medical. In the case of hospice, they're taking care of managing meds and doing all of that and bringing in nurses. But oftentimes you need a caregiver, like our services to help the family.
We do, and we work with companies just like yours, hand in hand, don't we? And it fits really well.
It does, and it's that communication, and it's giving somebody a break, and it might be something as simple as pulling them aside to make sure that they get their mind off of it by playing a game, or taking them to get to the mall or go to the grocery store, because they don't want to let go of the responsibility 100%, but they want a break.
Right.
And the bottom line is we would like to help everybody age in place, and that goes hand in hand with everyone.
Absolutely.
I think one of the neat things about these panels is we all network and work together in some way, shape, or form. I took a care manager with me on a call last Saturday night, believe it or not, and it was at 6 o'clock in the evening at a Starbucks, and we met with 4 family members, because that was the only time the 4 family members could leave their jobs to come and meet to discuss potential care for their parents.
Yes.
So, I think all of us in this room would also say that will be available 24/7, because you're not in this business unless you are. So I think it's kind of ironic you answered the phone last night, but not surprising.
Melinda, don't you have, isn't that what Sequoia does though? You go out and assess,
Yes.
and then you bring in home care?
Absolutely. So again, similar to what Shannon's talking about, I think one big difference for one, we are the only agency, the area agencies on aging are the only ones in the state that are contracted to do the Medicaid waiver and choice assessment. So again, kind of all roads end up leading back to Sequoia somehow. So we might not be the ones that you choose to provide that ongoing care management through Sequoia, but we're going to be the ones who you've got to do the phone assessment with to see if your loved one is eligible for the funding. And again, if you opt in to go to this.
Your basic is like 6 hours a week, is that correct? And then from there, depending on the assessment, it can go higher.
It all depends on that level of care.
And Medicare pays that?
Medicaid.
Medicaid pays
So
that.
big thing there is Medicaid is truly the only payer for long-term care supports or that federal funding. So a lot of people think Medicare pays that. Medicare doesn't
It's
pay
right, it's
that.
Medicaid.
Medicare
But it
pays
winds
that
up coming through a home care agency,
Yes.
does that right?
Yep,
Yeah,
so
okay.
us, the way we work, so if you seem to be eligible for Medicaid waiver and that's the route you're gonna go, we have a number of providers that we work very closely with, and you basically, and we help you decide, okay, here are your options. And so yeah, we oversee, manage that care, but we don't provide any true direct care
Right, right.
outside of, the transportation or the home delivery.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I had another question, it's probably the opposite of the reverse mortgage, I think it's an accounting question.
Uh-oh, okay. I'll wake up.
Better
All
sit
right.
up.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's say you decide, instead of doing a reverse mortgage, you're gonna sell your house. From an accounting standpoint, if this is the last house you're gonna own, what tax consequences or tax pluses do you get?
The laws have changed so many times over the years. So the basic rule now, if you live in 2 of the last 5 years,
Okay,
all right, you have a $250,000 exemption when you sell your house. So you sell your house for $251,000. You make $251,000. You buy a house for $100,000. You sell it for $351,000. You're going to pay tax on $1.
okay, and that's one person?
One person.
Okay.
So husband and wife have a $500,000 exemption.
Okay,
All right. It has changed so much that they're not even a form we fill out anymore when you sell your house. Yeah. Okay. The two out of the last 5 years is the key. Right. I had a young couple a couple years ago. They got married. He sells his house, moves in with her. He hadn't lived there for a year. He was in a nice area, made a boatload of money, but paid a boatload of taxes. So that's the key, 2 out of 5 years. Okay. And to go a little bit further with him, as far as reverse mortgage, what I tell most of my clients is it gives your heirs options. Because what happens a lot of times as we get older, we don't take care of our house. We can't afford to take care of it. We physically can't take care of it. And so it has a tendency to get run down. If we're in a house for 40 years, it may not be the best neighborhood either anymore. Okay, and it's okay for us, but maybe not so much for our kids. So what the reverse mortgage does for you is at the point that you're gone, your family has an option. They have 2 options. If you own the house, their only option is to come in and fix it up and sell it, or sell it as is. If the bank owns it with you, their option is to come in and fix it up if you can make money off of it. If I can sell it and make $50,000, it only cost me $10,000 to put into it, then I can make $40,000. But if it's run down and it's going to cost me $30,000, I'm not going to get that $30,000 back, then your kids can look at the bank and say, it's yours. So it gives them, reverse mortgage gives them, your family options when you're gone, okay? And most people don't really pay attention to that. It's a big thing. And reverse mortgages have changed a lot, and he will he will support me on this, in that it's not the old way. And I've got a son who's a mortgage broker, and that's the reason I know that, but apparently the newer reverse mortgages are such that if you take money out now, and in 5 years it has increased in value, you can go back to the well and take more money out.
Right, it's just like you go back and refinance reverse mortgage if you want to take the cash and providing that you meet all the criteria, so that it's a probably one benefit to you.
Couldn't used to do that.
Well, you still used to do that, but it just mattered that a lot of times it was equity stripping because it was not benefiting you. It has to benefit you, and that's why the laws have changed that. The reverse mortgage is also two things there. One, you can use reverse mortgage to buy a new home. So if then you want to sell this house, I want to buy a condo, I want to downside, you can reverse mortgage to purchase a home. And the good thing about your heirs is in case when you pass away, your heirs hypothetically, the market, it's still in the area, in the market, you owe maybe, say, $300,000 on the home, and when you pass away, the house may be only worth at least $100,000. There's an insurance policy there, so your heirs can buy the house back, refinance the house back at 95% of the new appraised value. All the rest of the insurance is protecting you and your estate and your heirs for that, or they can walk away and not owe anything at all. It's a non-recourse. So no one's coming after you or your estate for anything whatsoever. So there's a lot of benefits to you. It depends on what you're trying to do, short-term and long-term, and also for your heirs. And you remember, you always own the home. We do not own the home. All we have is just a lien on the property.
Just like a regular.
That's all it is a mortgage. Just keep in mind, it's just a mortgage. Only difference is now the home is allowing you to make an option. You can either enjoy it and pay payment, not make a payment at all. You can make a payment, or you just enjoy the house yourself. Or you can set up, make a payment to it and create a line of credit for yourself that's growing, that's have a growth rate on it, that's creating a line that you say, oh, okay, I can continue paying to this, and that line is growing, despite what the market is doing around you, is guaranteed to give you that growth factor. And you create a line of credit you can use down the road or never use it. But your choice, but it goes to either pay the principal down, or you can use the line of credit to take money out yourself. So there's many different ways. So there's a lot of different things that, I try to not be so, because it depends on what you want to do, to explain what you want to explain to you.
Since we're still in real estate, Denise, I'll let you come into this as a senior real estate expert. So, I'll bring you on in. What is a senior real estate, a specialist?
Well, listening to this just brings me back to why I'm a bit passionate about this segment of our market, and that's because I'm also a daughter and a granddaughter, and my family has been through these things too. And the biggest thing we found when we were going to transition my grandparents into either assisted living or they ended up moving in with my mother was their biggest asset and their biggest investment was their home. And the interesting thing about a home is it also has a great deal of emotional investment and attachment. And so it's a very complicated thing to help families navigate through how to leverage that asset and figure out what to do with it. And the answer isn't always stick a for sale sign in the yard. And you want to work with a realtor who's going to come in and know that. And their end goal isn't just to stick a for sale sign in the yard. Their goal is to listen and counsel and sometimes refer the family members to these fine people on this panel to do further counseling to determine if they want to sell their home. I have clients right now who are in situations where it's urgent and we have to get the home sold and we have to get it cleaned out quickly and there are no options. But I have lots of clients I meet with that they're just trying to plan for 5-10 years from now. They're having questions about reverse mortgages and how that could impact their investment. So it's a complicated thing because a home is more than just an investment. And you have a lot sometimes of family involved. So you have to sometimes meet with 5-6 people before you determine what's going to happen. So I'm always here to help people understand what their equity position is in their home because that's a big thing. Sometimes people are afraid to call a real estate agent and find out what their home is worth because they think we're going to be real salesy and hound them and twist their arm into selling their home. But I'm happy to help people understand what their equity position is so they can figure out how to utilize that.
I would suggest that right now, most people have no idea how much their house is worth.
It's very true.
Yeah, it's much more than they would think, so,
Just like Denise said, my whole goal is a holistic approach to a client. It's not to get you to do any transaction whatsoever, but also to educate you. That should educate you about your options, what your options are. Either that's we can need to refer you to someone that maybe can give you, because a lot of times what we do, or we create this panel, too often we act in silos. I mean, if I can't, I'm not always trying to get you to a transaction with me, and really when I realize your need is not me. It might be Denise. It might be one other person out there that their need may be, and you started trying to keep it to refer you. It's better to refer you to someone that we know, so you'll start over. You're not starting over to find something. It helps you to move right along with the right person, and also so you have someone you can talk to. You know that hey, I'm being referred to someone that knows me, knows you, and can help you. We can also make that a soft transaction to you, and so really, and our goal is really to help you understand all your options and answer your questions. So you sit back with yourself with factual information to be now well informed, now to help you make a better decision and figure out that's really the biggest piece that we all have, the holistic approach really. And it's a lot of times, I know somebody call you, they want you to do a transaction, but we're not that way. Sometimes the transaction, we may not be a transaction at all. It's just referring to the right person and give you the right information, then you found it. Sometimes it's nothing, sometimes it is something. But a lot of times we find that somebody might be at the 12th hour and not knowing all the options, they could have got the right answer way before that, before something the 12th hour happened. Like reverse mortgage, it's not always that you got to be destitute or anything like that, but it could be good resources to fund one of these services you may need. Yeah.
I was in a conversation with a gentleman with the reverse mortgage company, and he said something I had no idea about. He's working with people that have really high incomes, and we're going to take some major tax issues. They're doing reverse mortgages, not paying on them for a period of time. Then when they're going to pull money out of their 401ks or whatever, they're going to get hit really hard for taxes. That year they pay back all the back interest, so all of a sudden this guy saved $100,000 over 5 years on taxes by
that is true.
using that manipulation.
We work with your financial planner. They help you to help your portfolio last a lot longer and be more stronger for you. In a down market, you don't have to pull money from that. You have to use reverse mortgages, those funds there to allow you to be able to make while the time going another way. And then because everything's going well, you can just pay it back and you create that line of credit for yourself. Because as you get older, your qualification to qualify for a mortgage becomes less and less.
It's a financial vehicle, is what it comes down to.
So it's showing you the housing wealth that you can use. A lot of people don't understand
I
that.
think Siobhan just said
Yes.
real quick.
Well, I just like what you said, that there's no pressure, and I think that, I speak for everybody in the room here today that's on the panel. That's been a misconception in the past, is elderly people were pressured into doing things that they weren't comfortable with, and then their loved ones found out about it later. And it's our job, no matter what any of us do, is to educate now. And you know, I always tell people I'm going to come out and give you an assessment, but there is no obligation.
Right.
There's lots of competition, and competition is healthy, but it's find the people that aren't pushing you and pressuring you. Find the people that just understand that they're in this to educate people through their experiences, their own experiences.
Joe, you tell, sorry.
No, I was gonna ask him, we could bring him in, okay.
I had a quick
Dale?
question
Yeah.
for you.
Uh-oh.
So I
I'll let
work
you
with
guys go.
veterans every day
Okay.
and help them and expound on the long-term care benefits that are available. I understand it's 90 days of active duty, wartime situation.
One day wartime,
Do
9
they
day
have
active
to
duty.
meet so many ADLs or anything like that?
You have to have 2 out of the 6
Okay.
that you can't, all right?
That's normal.
They can be, we can do it in the home. It's not as easy as it used to be. So normally we're trying to transition them into assisted living. And from a medical standpoint, I have to have $1 more medical expenses than their income.
Okay.
So if I'm in assisted living, I can use that fee, that whole fee, as medical. And that's kind of what normally gets them approved. All right. If I stay home, I gotta do some workarounds in order to get there. It's a little tougher. The laws just changed last October, so it makes it a little harder. Okay. The main rule that changed in October is, it used to be if we had too many assets, which was like $20,000, I can move those assets tomorrow and get them applied tomorrow. Can't do that anymore, okay? Now, it's $127,000, they raised that on us, but anything over that, they give away, got a 3-year look back. So you gotta juggle that with
And is it still
Medicaid's
goes
a 5-year
into a
look
trust,
back.
a 5-year look back?
Medicare's a 5-year look back, however, I work with an elder law attorney where, under circumstances, I can get Medicaid approved tomorrow by moving stuff around. It's easier with a husband and wife than it is with just a single person, but it can be done, and he does it every day, okay? So we have to decide, you know, do we go VA or do we just go Medicaid? Because right now, VA's taking a year to get approved. And it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. I actually wrote the president the other day because I've lost 2 people that have died while waiting to get approved. And I just hate that. So, and normally it used to be like 3 months. And with the new rules, it just got slammed and everything. So so we have to sit down and decide, do we take a year for VA, or we move over here and maybe do some work around with assets and go for Medicaid? So that's kind of what we're looking at. But the biggest issue is the veterans don't know they have it. I spend most of my time trying to educate. They have no idea they have a long-term care paid-up policy from the government. No, they don't advertise it, they don't tell you about it, they don't know anything about it.
It's a lot of money too.
Have it as well.
Pardon?
That's, they don't understand that it's, the spouse can.
Well, oh, yeah,
receive
yeah,
it,
the spouse,
yeah.
after
Yeah.
they're gone, the spouse qualifies for also. We do, that's mostly what we do, okay? And, but yeah, they have no clue. So, but yeah, and we do it all the time, love to work with you, okay? Now, my question to you,
Yes, sir.
all right, I'm not gonna ask you how much it's gonna cost to bury me,
Okay.
okay, but I'm a numbers guy, and it occurs to me that in your business, you're having a lot of pressure with things like cremations because burying you is so expensive. Do you see your
Traditional ground burial is actually the most expensive option.
Well, I was gonna say, do you see that coming down because you have so many other outside pressures? You're no longer going to, I mean, some of the recent funerals I've gone to are, you know, kind of like, you know, in a closet because they don't want to spend the money kind of thing. And so there seems to be a lot of pressure to lower the pricing. You know, I can buy a casket from Costco. So do you see your overall pricing come down? Do you know that?
You can bury yourself in the ground. It becomes rich these days.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. You can buy the casket. I don't know if you can bury yourself or not. Okay?
There's like these bags.
So a lot of pressure.
Disposable, and you can become a tree eventually, so that's an option too.
A lot of pressures on you. Do you see the general price of a normal funeral going down?
I do not.
Okay.
The costs continue to increase,
Okay.
and historically, they've been doubling every 5 years.
All right.
So if it's a
like
full-fledged
healthcare.
burial, yes, sir, and a funeral, we're averaging $12,000 to $20,000 for the full deal.
Yeah.
And so that's gonna be 24 to 40,000 in 5 years from now.
Yeah.
So. On another hand, buying your casket at Costco, I would do it right before Halloween because you have to take it home with you. They don't store it. At least we'll store yours till you need it. We hold your reservations.
Yeah, use it as a guest bed in the guest room, you know?
Right.
Which is another question, so if you lock in now and you're prepared and you try to help your family by doing this in advance, what happens as these prices increase?
If everything
in 10
is taken
years?
care of, you're locked in at those costs. There's no additional fees.
Because my grandmother, my aunt, when my grandmother died recently, that's the way she understood it, and they had bought it a long time ago, and all of a sudden, like $6,000 in hidden fees
Wow.
came up.
That's
Because
unfortunate.
it was.
Unless you're
They
adding
weren't
on
prepared.
hiring a band for the
There
repast.
was no burden.
Or,
But they said it was the inflation, because my grandmother had bought it so long ago.
Doesn't seem
Well,
right.
we have 100% guarantee. Our prices are locked in at the time. We finance everything through the Crown Hill Trust. So I manage $49 million there. It's all done internally. There's no credit checks, anything like that. Everything is done right there. All of our caskets come from Batesville Casket Company, not Costco. So you can get it at Odd Lots, Walmart, Sam's Club too. So just put the plug out there. But you have to take it home with you. Where am I going to put this casket?
That's another reason to maybe check out all of your
Yeah.
Cremation is the least expensive today. It's probably the most popular. The most expensive is our traditional ground burial, because we give those spaces away, especially to our service veterans, for free. They either can come to us or go to Marion Cemetery, and they have a space there free. But then there's other things that are added on.
Sure.
In the state of Indiana, well, all 50 states now, if you dig a hole in the ground, that casket has to go into a vault.
Yeah.
Vaults are $2,000 at our start point. Then to dig that hole, we call that the open and closing. Somebody has to dig it 6 foot deep, 7 foot long, 3.5 foot wide. That's $2,000 to dig that out, fill it back in. So those things add up, and people aren't aware of all those additional costs. So we do try to counsel people to lock that in. We like to sit with mom and dad so they can make those arrangements so the children aren't doing it after the fact. Right. So I've done mine. Come to mine, and Earth, Wind, and Fire will be there. I want a celebration of life.
Linda, I was going to give you a chance. I want to let you brag a little bit. What you guys are doing with Dementia Friends right now, you guys are getting the first of this and the first of that and the first of this. People flying in to figure out what you guys are doing. So I'm going to let you kind of do that brag.
Thank you so much. Okay, well, like I said, Dementia Friends Indiana, it is a social movement. So this social movement started over in the United Kingdom through their Alzheimer's Society. And so since they started it in 2013-ish, it has reached into 51 different countries. So you can find Dementia Friends Pakistan, you can find Dementia Friends Germany, whatever the case is. I mean, the movement's out there. And so we brought it here, well, I can't say we, but the United States began offering this program in about 2015 to 2016. And in August of 2017, SECOA became the state administrator for what we know as Dementia Friends Indiana. So again, in just over 2 years, we've been able to educate 5,400 people throughout the entire state. So it's just really beyond my wildest dreams who we've been able to reach. But in addition to that, some small wins that we've had, we've created what we call memory cafes. So we have one at Conner Prairie, and then Hamilton East Public Library, the Fishers location, and then in March they'll be opening one at the Noblesville location. But these are just meant to be social gatherings for both the caregiver and the person living with dementia at any stage of their dementia, any type of dementia. We tell them, leave your diagnosis at the door and just come on in. But again, it's meant to be this opportunity for them to be together. I think there's a lot of great support groups out there. There's a lot of great services like adult day services, but there's nothing really for both the caregiver and the person living with dementia to be together. And a socialization, because withdrawal and isolation, I mean, that is hands down the biggest consequence of this condition. And again, we're talking about the mortality rates with these caregivers. We need to create these opportunities. So that's a small win, I'd say, but it's something I wanted to share with you all, just so you all know that those are available to you and at no cost at all. But some bigger things, so let's see, we partnered with the Indiana Department of Homeland Security, and we created a training for all the first responders throughout the entire state for them to become Dementia Friends. So it incorporates a lot of what we teach in our Dementia Friends sessions, but it's tailored to that first responder role that they play. So over the next few years, we should see every single first responder in the state become Dementia Friends. And you know, we would all assume that they receive this training. They don't. And it's not mandatory. It's optional for them, but it's not mandatory. But again, how many calls are they receiving? So many. And oftentimes they don't realize that they're just approaching the situation completely wrong. You know, and a lot of what we teach in Dementia Friends, I don't want to say it goes hand in hand with, you know, developmental disabilities and mental health, but a lot of it does cross over. So I think a lot of what you learn there can be applied to dealing with Again, individuals on the autism spectrum or other developmental disabilities, mental health conditions. I tell everybody at the end of sessions, it's like, okay, just put you through a crash course in becoming compassionate, empathetic human beings. You know, it's not rocket science what I teach, but at the core, recognizing that these individuals are still people and they deserve to be treated as such. You know, they have these just lives full of just rich memories and everything. So, you know, really focusing on what their abilities still are and not what's lost. So I think that's a super big highlight for us. Again, the first responders in that partnership with the Indiana Department of Homeland Security. We also have partnered with IU Saxony Hospital up in Fishers, and they have put every single staff member, it doesn't matter if you are a physician there or if you work the front desk there or in their cafeteria, they've all been through our information session that we provide. And so now they'll be putting in some changes in their policy. They'll be offering these comfort kits for families who come in and if their loved one's agitated. There's these things called twiddle muffs, strange name. But it's almost for, you know, when they're fidgety and they're anxious, they can wrap their hands in it and it's got all these different tactile, sensory things that they can play around with. So again, those will be offered to families when they come into the emergency room or they're in there for inpatient care. So that's an extremely big win for a hospital system to see what we're doing out in the community and find value in that. I think when I first started being involved in the movement, I had a really hard time, you know, just intimidated. Well, healthcare professionals, they already know this information, and you'd be surprised just how little they know. And again, you know, it all comes back to customer service and providing exceptional experiences for people. And so I think those are really some of the biggest wins that we've had. And again, like I said, just the sheer amount of people that we've been able to educate in a short period of time. I mean, it's an ambitious goal, but I truly would like to see everybody in this state be a dementia friend, for us all to have the same understanding of what these people are going through, what their families are going through, and knowing what resources are available to support them. So
And how does someone become a dementia?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you chat with me after this. But I have provided some brochures, but we do on our website, dementiafriendsindiana.org. We have a list of all of our community sessions throughout the entire state of Indiana. So you'll find some, not that it's applicable to you all in this room, but they've got some in Bloomington and Evansville and you know, South Bend area. I mean, you can find them all over the place. But we at Socoa, we actually offer a monthly session the last Thursday of every month, 9:30 to 10:30. I think Jamie's going to join us next week. But that's open to the community. So we put all of our new hires at Socoa through that session, and then we welcome any community members that want to come and learn and get involved. That's the easiest way to do it. There's also an online option for people that just aren't able to make it to the in-person sessions. But I think anybody who's been through the in-person session will tell you that it's impactful, it's powerful, it's a lot of information crammed into an hour, but you leave there feeling. I was just telling someone today, it's like bringing hope to what seems like a completely hopeless situation, you know, and just the sense that people are out there and people care and people want to make a difference. And thank you for allowing me.
And you can also be a dementia champion, which means that you
yes,
become a coach for the team,
absolutely. So,
which I need to find out how to do. I'm the friend, but I don't know how to do that.
Yes.
Yet,
so a champion would be the next level, and that's really for people that are comfortable out there facilitating these sessions. So I train them to go out and educate the community, lead these sessions. So that would be, so our information sessions to become a friend, it's just 1 hour long. The champions trainings typically take about 2 hours to go through, but it's just a train-the-trainer model. So you all are welcome after you become friends to do that, but think about people in your own life, people who have been impacted by this condition. Nearly every single volunteer that I have, and I've trained over 100 people to become volunteers, they have a personal connection to this condition. You know, it's rare that you meet anybody who's not been impacted by this condition anymore. So.
Jim, I'm a slow learner, that's why she kept me there 90 minutes.
We had a lot to talk about. But I want to give a plug to Crown Hill. I mean, we just on Tuesday came back and finished up, but just about every single staff member at Crown Hill became a dementia friend. And I had a lady say, I know this is a silly question, but I work with dead people. How does this apply to me? You know, and going back to that statistic I was talking about with the caregivers, how many times are you know, again, these families just shook because that caregiver, that pillar, that person that was providing everything, managing everything, they're now gone. You know, we're thinking about wakes and the funerals and possibly having people with dementia showing up there. And, you know, they're asking you over and over again, well, what happened? Where are we? You know, why are we here? And, you know, just how do you redirect and how do you talk them through that? And how do you not have to have them relive that situation over and over and over again? So it's like, well, you know, I understood where she was coming from, but it was like, well, for one, it's just an overall awareness, but for two, this does directly apply to what you all do. And again, sorry to talk so much about it, but with this movement, it really is an all community sectors approach. So, you know, again, it's like thinking about our grocery store, people who work in grocery stores, our faith communities, our libraries, our banks. I mean, every single sector is touched by this condition, and they may not realize it. Because most people you see with dementia, I was looking straight at a woman on Monday, had no idea that she had frontotemporal dementia, talking right to her, you know? And again, most people with dementia, you don't know that they have it. They physically don't look ill. I think we have this perception in our mind that we view those late stages. We view when they're just hunched over in the wheelchair, they're not able to make eye contact or talk to you. And I've been there with my own grandmother, but you know, the first 6 to 7 years of her condition, you wouldn't know. You know, and so again, getting people to realize in all community sectors how often they are coming across and servicing these individuals. And for us all to have this basic understanding, I think it's so important. It's a start. We need to start somewhere because the number of people living with this condition, it's just only going to continue to rise. So we've got to do something.
I have one question I'd like to ask of these, okay, and you guys can, whoever wants to jump into this. If you had one thing that you would like to help tell people that people don't know about your world, what you would like, oh my God, if I could have a megaphone and everyone would listen to me for, you know, is there something that you guys would like to say, is what I'm basically trying to say. So is there that one thing that you would love to get out? If it's going to be on video, who knows when I say it. So, you know, but anyway.
Be
Anybody?
proactive. Be proactive. Don't sit back and wait until you get older to figure all of this stuff out. Start exploring this stuff now. Start looking into, you know, nursing facilities, assisted living facilities, having a plan. I mean, I think we all have spoke to that we've been in this situation. It was a nightmare with our families.
Yeah,
but
well, you're
again,
older than us, so you're further down the road.
the youngest person in the room is like, be proactive, get on this. I probably should have this conversation with my own family. Exactly. Yeah, that's what I would say.
I think for me it's the financial piece. I think a lot of times in healthcare, whether you're the provider, you're the nursing home, you're the physician, that we do a really good job of thinking that this is just a really quick get-rich-quick scheme, but it's really not. And one of the things that I talk a lot about with family members, especially since I've been here at Castleton, is very seldomly do I look at a financial payer check from my business office manager and make my decision, can that person come to Castleton? And in fact, never in the 8 months has that occurred. And I think for us, and a lot of these individuals as well, when you start to take, you know, an oath into healthcare and wanting to do well and right by others, you start to lose focus of the digits that you're working with every day, and you're just trying to find ways to make it work and make it make sense for those individuals that need it. And a lot of times we get tossed into the middle ropings and trying to figure out what to do with very little time, resource, and kind of being able to maneuver through it. So just be patient. You know, I think anybody that steps foot into a healthcare arena each day truly does have the best mindset vision of what we can try to accomplish, and more importantly, what we can try to accomplish together.
And I think it's important to meet people where they're at. We're taught with our company that we don't meet them where we're at or where we hope they would be, but we truly meet them where the patient and the families are. We have family dynamic issues going on. There's a lot of different moving pieces, and our goal is to make them feel as comfortable and at peace and lessen the anxiety is the key. And I think we all would agree with that.
I would say be informed, get informed. Really, that's really the key piece is be informed and be listened to, educate yourself about what you're trying to do. And understand your options, talk with your family, be first and foremost, so they understand what you're doing, what you're considering. And then get all the information, the right information. Someone is trying to push you, that's not the right person you want to talk to. But a lot of times that you don't make a decision because you out of fear of unknown, or fear not, I don't want to make that move yet. It is emotional, I do understand that, and we all understand that. But if you can just understand that it's emotional, but really you have to do something. And sitting still does not make things better. As a matter of fact, it makes it worse. Because you move beyond, or sometimes beyond a point where someone can really truly help you, assist you, or get informed, get all the right information, and then help someone to help you navigate that information that you get, then make sure they clearly explain it to you, so you can be more informed. Because I try to do a strong job of really educating the client on what all the options are, and getting a little bit further, asking more questions. So what you're trying to do short term and long term, not just the short term, because a lot of times we're looking down at the short term, but we're not thinking about the long term of what we're trying to get accomplished. Yeah, you got this fixed, but did you complicate something? Or did it really help you prepare you to where you want to go, where you're trying to get to the next time? And that's really the key point of everything. That it not just fix this, but it definitely put you on the path of your tomorrow.
Well, it's 7:30. Oh, go ahead.
I just want, and we live in a transitional world, so if Indianapolis is not your home, and that's not where you want your final resting place to be in Crown Hill, which I love. I'm happy to go to work there every day. I'm a little biased though, but the 200 deer running around is just beautiful. Or our facility on the south side of town, New Crown, or one of our 8 funeral homes throughout the city. If that's not your home, then we have what is called national transferability. We're affiliated with the Dignity Corporation. They own 6,000 funeral homes and cemeteries throughout the United States. So if you're like Tony Bennett and he doesn't want to be buried at Crown Hill, he wants to be buried with his heart in San Francisco, all your arrangements at Crown Hill would transfer there at no additional cost to the family. So any major metropolis throughout the United States, we would have a facility there for you. That's all I have. Thanks.
Any other questions, or do you have something?
No, you guys are all here because you're trying to get educated and everything, and the one thing that I see every day with my elder law attorney is what we call crisis mode, where mom falls down, breaks a hip, goes in rehab, and they tell her she's not going home. And so now it's all a matter of how we're going to pay for it, where's she going to go, and they're in our office, and we're in crisis mode. And that's not the time to make financial decisions, is a problem. So anytime you can pre-plan that, when you have a level head and everything, it's a lot better. And that's why you all are here, I commend you for that. Just keep doing it, because crisis mode is not fun for any of us. Anyone here deals with it every day as much as I do. I do the financial side of it. It's not when you need to make the decisions financially, but we're all there. We go through it every day. And the better you can pre-plan, just the better off you are all the way around. You have more options and everything else. So.
Well, everybody, I think people brought brochures up on that table. I think there's some up here as well if you want to. I'm sure that anyone would be glad to handle any questions one-on-one you may not have wanted to ask in a group. And thank you for coming.
Thank you all so much.